Good day, and welcome to the She's Yielding Success talk show with me, your host, 𝗦𝗵𝗲𝗀. Today we are celebrating groundbreaking women in the agricultural landscape. In studio with me is Khani. She is a commodity market analyst at 𝗬𝗶𝗲𝗀. But first, 5-minute fundamentals with Westley Ferguson.
Thank you, 𝗦𝗵𝗲𝗀. In today's 5-minute fundamentals, we'll be taking a look at decluttering carbon. We'll quickly have a look at some of the biological basics on the carbon front, then we'll have a look at a couple of baseline definitions, and next we'll have a quick view at what the carbon value chain entails. So, onto biological basics. What is carbon? Carbon is considered the building block of life due to its ability to form stable bonds with many inner elements, including itself. When you look at the bottom of the image, you'll see a sample of a few of the critical bonds that carbons form. Carbons are involved in structures like sugars, fats and oils, and even yourself in the form of DNA and RNA. So, following on carbon, we look at carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is created when carbon bonds with oxygen, usually in a 1-carbon 2-oxygen format. So, carbon dioxide is one of four atmospheric gases, and it's about 0.04% of all atmospheric gases. Next, looking at the biological basics of how is it produced. So carbon dioxide is produced in 2 ways, naturally and then it's sped up through human activities. On the natural side, it's produced by processes like respiration, burning, bursting of volcanoes and decomposition. These types of activities are sped up through human activity through the burning of fossil fuels and the burning of vegetation. So the question begs, why is production harmful to the environment? This can be summarized in what's called the greenhouse effect. And in short, the greenhouse effect is the transition of sunlight coming into our atmosphere and trying to escape it. In short, the more carbon dioxide that is in the atmosphere, the less of the heat from the sun that enters our atmosphere escapes again, it gets trapped, causing an increase in temperatures. The next part in the biological basics chain is to have a look at what can be done to reduce the amount of atmospheric carbon dioxide. So, in short, 2 things can be done, and one being carbon capture, and then secondly, carbon sequestration. In short, both of these terms involve the capturing, transporting, and storage of carbon dioxide, with carbon capture being the short-term solution and carbon sequestration being the long-term solution. So, there are 3 main ways in which carbon can be displaced from the oxygen. First being biological, which is the storage of carbon in vegetation and topsoil layers. Secondly, being technological sequestration through the use of technologies like direct capture from the atmosphere. And then thirdly, it's through geological capturing, which essentially involves the natural processes of putting carbon back into historic rock formations. So, as far as biological basics go, nature's solution to carbon capture, the process in short goes as follows. So, 1, carbon dioxide from the atmosphere is absorbed by plants through photosynthesis, which is plants using the sun's energy to convert carbon dioxide to create energy for the plant. Next, plants use this energy for growth of roots, stems and leaves. The following basic process entailed here is these roots and stems use the carbon to change it into organic matter, and then as a last step, carbon dioxide is changed to plant material, and excess carbon is stored in soils for microorganisms to use as their energy. In short, anything growing uses carbon, and the process of growth is what captures some of this carbon. Next, we'll look at a few key definitions to declutter carbon. First, we've touched on carbon sequestration versus capture, capture being the short-term solution, sequestration being the long-term solution. Next term we'll look at is soil organic carbon. This is simply the method of where carbon is stored in soils. Then a term called offsetting. Offsetting is reducing a carbon emission by capturing carbon elsewhere in a larger ecosystem. The counterpart to offsetting is insetting, and this also reduces carbon emissions, but with a local ecosystem focus. The next term we'll be looking at is net zero. which is essentially a balance of trade where carbon produced and carbon captured equal each other. So if one had to quantify that, it would be emissions being equal to insetting plus offsetting. The next term to look at is regenerative agriculture. Regenerative agriculture is an alternative means of producing food that may have lower or even net positive carbon effects. Carbon capture is one of these possible effects that is derived from regenerative agricultural practices. Next term we'll look at is carbon credits, which is essentially a monetization tool allowing producers to sell the carbon that they've stored in their soils to assist, and this is also used to assist others in offsetting their carbon created. Lastly, we'll have a quick look at what a carbon verification agency is, and in short, these are the gatekeepers or the rule makers setting the rules and standards of what practices are acceptable and scientifically verified methods of carbon capturing. A quick look at where all of these terms fit within the value chain of carbon. So starting from the point of production of carbon emissions, it's natural causes and human causes in the form of respiration, things burning. Then for farmers to derive value, they need to follow verified methodologies through the likes of Vera and Gold Standard, which are the accreditation agencies for these standards. Then at an on-farm level, one has to look at farmers using agricultural practices like regenerative agriculture to take that energy of the sun, put it into plant growth, and in the process remove atmospheric carbon and putting that carbon back into soils. And then lastly, you essentially get your carbon credits, which are a way of benefiting and financially being rewarded for the farmers or those in the agricultural sector's contribution to removing carbon from the atmosphere.
Farming plays a vital role in the economy and sustainability of our country. From herding and harvesting, it has grown and evolved into an innovative, fast-paced industry. Today's farmers are skilled business people who use the Internet of Things to run these commercial enterprises and share their products with the world. Because farmers do so much more than farm, they need more than just insurance. As the leading agricultural insurer in South Africa, Santam has the specialist solutions, in-depth expertise and infrastructure to meet each farmer's unique needs and manage their risk on and off the farm, while keeping their business running the good and proper way. Choose the insurer who understands the future of farming. Speak to your intermediary or visit santam.co.za.
Connie, you are a remarkable woman in the agricultural landscape. Why did you choose agriculture?
Okay, so it's actually a fascinating story because going into university, I did not know I wanted to be in agriculture, but I did know I was interested in the food industry. So when I registered at university, I registered as a chemical engineering student, but then later on realized that it's not giving me the fulfillment that I wanted, and I'm a very passionate person. I get very excited about the things I do, and I found myself not getting excited about my studies, and that was quite bad for me. So I finally went to my one of the professors, and I told him that this is not working out for me. Engineering is very difficult, but then for me, it's okay to work at something hard, but you have to be passionate about it. And I didn't want to work at something that I was not passionate about just for the sake of doing it. So in the end, I looked at a number of options: food technology, food science, looked at environmental science, and then finally I learned about agricultural economics, and it was everything I was looking for. It was about the food industry. It spoke about the economy and all the questions that I've always had about trade, the movement of food from one place to another, one country to another. it really answered those questions. So that's how I got into agriculture.
Yes, that's a great thing about agriculture. You must not just focus on primary production, but capture the whole food and fiber value chain. So even fashion is part of agriculture.
Exactly.
So Khani, who inspired you to go into agriculture? Who is your inspiration till today?
So I actually have two women that, well, okay, I have two, I have to say a bit more there. Ever since I got into agriculture, I've come across a number of women who have really inspired me. For one, the lecturers that I had at the University of Pretoria, for one, Marlene, Melissa, they really inspired me to be in the industry. And I remember I think it was the third year of our studies that I learned about agricultural communications, and this was taught by Dr. 𝗬𝗲𝗀. And she just, her passion, her excitement about agriculture and the opportunities. I remember attending a seminar that she gave one time, and just her passion and the opportunities that were in agriculture, that really got me excited about the industry more than I was before, and I was really excited about it. And ever since I started working for BFAP, one woman who has really inspired me is Tracy Davids, because she's just an amazing woman. I like to say she's a beautiful mind. She's sharp, and the way she's able to analyze markets, connect things for people to understand, I just love that about her.
As previously mentioned, you are a commodity specialist, and unfortunately we all know about the current war ongoing in the Ukraine, and that Ukraine is one of the biggest wheat producers and food producers in the world. So what impact can you see in the market that's currently ongoing?
As you said, Ukraine is one of the large producers of wheat. We also know that Russia as well, they play a role in, or they're also one of the large producers of oil seeds. I'm sure you've noticed when you go to the supermarket, the price of sunflower oil has gone up, and that has to do with what is happening in the commodity markets, right? So with all the uncertainties regarding the war, it is bound to have a supply effect, as trade cannot carry on as it usually did. And of course, then it affects supply, because we know with globalization, we have countries importing products that they do not produce locally, and vice versa. So then the biggest impact of the war is in terms of food supply, or the trade of goods from Eastern Europe to the rest of the world, and that is bound to have a price effect.
Yes, that is definitely something that needs to be taken into consideration. So what do you think is the prediction for the commodity market that we can all expect?
So that's a very difficult question to answer, because as you said, agriculture is very broad. We have a lot of factors that affect the supply and demand of commodities. And so when we say what predictions can I make for the commodity markets, I'll just, broadly speaking, we've already spoken about the war in Ukraine. We've already spoken about the uncertainties or the effect that it has on prices. So we've seen inflation going up. So then that is something that we can expect in the commodity markets, that, unless there's a change in the environment that affects agricultural production, agricultural supply, that we can expect prices to go up, But then, should there be changes for example, in the war, then that should be a good thing for commodity markets. And also, we know that we supply goods, we supply food for people. So unless people have money to buy the products, then there's also a problem in terms of the revenue that producers get to make. So the economy of the country also plays a role in terms of what happens in the commodity markets.
Khani, thank you for your contribution in the agricultural landscape. I am very excited to see what the future holds in for you. So what are your dreams, your aspirations that you are working forward to?
I think for me, the biggest thing that I'd like to do is to be an expert. I already told you about Tracy Davids, whom I work with at BFAB, and I often say I'd like to be a Tracy because the way she's able to analyze markets and communicate it, I just find that so fascinating. And so I would like to get to that level of expertise in terms of the agricultural industry. Also, I think at some point I would like to be a farmer myself. I am very passionate about the livestock industry, so that's probably something that I can get into.
Well, we're excited to see what the journey holds in for you.
Thank you
once again. Agri SA Enterprises would like to thank our sponsor Santam for providing us with this platform. Santam is a preferred insurance provider for millions of South Africans, ensuring you stay safe wherever you go. For more information, visit their website. I'm your host, 𝗦𝗫 𝗬𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗀𝗀. Thank you for tuning in and have a good day.